Hello and welcome back to a new episode of High Tech Low Code Podcast. Today's topic may turn out to be a divisive one. We are going to be talking about market research reports such as Gartner and Forrester. And like last time, to help us on our journey, we're delighted to have the company of Tiago Neves and Rashid Anis. But before we dive into our topic and find out what this report represents, let's have a quick word with our guests. Tiago, welcome back. And as always, thank you very much for joining us in our podcast. How have you been?
Hey, good, doing good, and always glad to be back and record another episode. Certainly a very interesting topic for today. Looking forward to this, to Gartner or not to Gartner discussion.
Thank you. Rashid, likewise, welcome back and thank you for joining us. How have you been? It has been long since we last spoke.
You have to unmute.
You have to unmute.
Thank you for having me. And it's an interesting topic. I think having worked in this industry where there was no Gartner, I was a developer then, and used so many product and how the product evaluation was done in the past and how the product evaluation is today. I'm very keen to explore that side of the story. We'll be happy to share my thoughts.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, now let's approach this topic from the beginning. Let's start with what is a tech analysis report? Tiago, you want to go ahead?
Yes, I'll go ahead. So thinking about your question. Well, it's difficult to say, really. I think that there's a mix of also backgrounds of people that do hold this tech analyst report, and I would see them as well. So someone that do have an analytical perspective on what they're looking at. And so what these companies do is they certainly collect data, and it can be data that is available in the public, but certainly they do their own research. They do speak with the vendors, they do speak with customers, so they do collect a variety of data. And the challenge is really how to put all that together and not be, let's say, within opinions, but so be as analytical as possible to translate the information that they get into some values that can be then compared between different vendors and different technologies. So there's certainly a bit of the personal perspective, or at least so in terms of what is then an analysis that is part of the reports, usually from these tech analysts, in which so there's going to be an opinion about that report. As it happens with all analysts, I guess that in other industries, I'm thinking especially about financial services and stocks and so on, there's always a little personal perspective, as much as you have data supporting that opinion, but there's going to be some personal opinion in the end related with what we see in the report.
Rashid, anything you would like to head up? You're muted.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
It's certainly a very individualistic and very a personal view is part of a whole this report is based on, because if I don't like someone, I will certainly not say something good about that person. And in the same way, if I don't like the product, I will not say something nice. Yeah, if you take me for a coffee, I may say something nice to you. So that's pretty much this whole reporting is all about. This is what I see it.
Okay, that's an interesting view. But who uses them and what are they for?
Oh, well, that's actually something that I think everyone would like to know. So it's a very good question, because I think that so being, and I don't have any, just a short disclaimer, I do not have any relation with any of these. So Gartner, Forrester, or others. But from what I've seen for years, it's certainly there's different how these reports are seen within the industry. There are different groups, let's say, in how they perceive this differently. For instance, in the between the IT vendors, and so this is a very relevant report that the marketing and the sales team of the vendors do pay much attention, because this is something that they can leverage for their messaging, for their commercial activities, and so all that they're planning. So nobody, certainly if they're part of the report, if they're being mentioned and they are within the leaders, they will certainly talk about that, and they will shout out about that as much as possible. And there's always a war each year, each quarter, depending on how frequently they're produced. But there's always a war between vendors, and this is certainly something that does play an important, let's say, it is seen in a very emotional way, I guess, so by vendors. But but that's a specific group that will actually not be using the reports, I would say. So it's very important for them, but they're actually not going to take much use of the reports. But then there are consulting companies such as Outsprint that work with these technologies, that deliver projects with these technologies, that will find it relevant and certainly interesting, and to understand, are we working with vendors that are on the right path or not. But I don't see them as being something that relevant, really, for the consulting companies and so channel partners. And so it has a relevant importance, I would say. But to whom they are addressed to, I think that in the end, so who ends up wanting to get this information, these reports, and paying for them, will certainly be the companies that are looking to adopt these technologies, being a low-code software development platform, being an integration platform as a service, whatever it is. I would see, so certainly the big companies, enterprises, having an interest in these reports and consuming them, so subscribing to the services of Gartner and Forrester and others, and they would read these reports, I would say. But I wonder really how relevant they are to them also. Is it are they taking decisions based on these reports? Are they just let's say keeping under the radar if there's any vendor technology coming through, any best of breed showing up on the report that they didn't know of? I don't know. I think that these reports are part of a much bigger decision cycle. So I think they are important, but they are not going to be the ones that will make someone take a decision to go with technology A or technology B. It's one of the aspects that they will look at, and that will help them take a decision. But I don't think it will really be that much influential on a decision, to be honest. But I think this is very personal, as Rashid said. So there are different opinions. But from my side, I don't think that they are as relevant as they might seem. I think it is us, people from within the IT world, and especially the vendors, that make too much fuss about it. And in reality, I don't see them being as relevant as they seem.
All right. What do you think, Rashid?
I agree with Tiago, but I will add something more on top of it. In a scientific world, right, we had usually what we look for is fact and underlying element of the experiment and the results of that fact. And then we support that fact and go for that. Okay, this is this kind of item is 100% pure, or there's some element of which has that there's no purity, and basis of that information, which is based on little percentage here and there, or 5% this element, 10% that element, 20% that element. But the valuation of a technology based product is if you do a pure scientific lab based test, okay, then I can see the value of that reports. It make perfect sense. Okay, let's look at it to the detailed analysis of the product in every angle and every sense of it. But we don't see that report at all. We talk about a very very subjective of it, of an idea. Okay, someone is talking about this. It's very good on A features, and it's very bad on the B features. And then we jumble up some conversations and we refer someone who is considered to be a guru in the market, and we quote that person, and here you go, report is ready for you, right? But there is no concrete validations of a fact based on the real lab-based result of a product. And this is which is, I think, sometimes people like us, all of us, are very technical in every sense, and we want to look at those, a crystal clear comparison. Okay, if this product is and we pick it up, for example, 20 most important essential features of a product, and we compare, and that itself, to pick a top 20, it will take a lot of time, and there will be a debate also among technology. Oh no, this 20 should, what I have picked, you will not make pick, and Tiago will not pick. So these are the things. It's a controversial. It's a big controversial, and then when people start quoting, that okay, this product is amazing, because one element of research group have saying that because it's amazing, and other people are saying no, it's not. It's fall into top 4, top 5. It's a controversial in every sense. And if a company who is going on board with this particular product, I don't know how much this particular reports help them. I have no idea. I mean, for me, because it's just a very high level, it's a heavily political bias based report. I always see that who is talking and who is really, mentioning these things, and that's the kind of crux of these reports. And it's trying to be very biased, neutral, but I never felt that it's biased and neutral from my personal point of view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rashid, I think that you're right. So the two things are out of what you were saying, and one of them, so touching the last one, being political, let's say, or so how these reports are sometimes seen as being influenced so by a particular vendor or group of vendors, or so the things they say, and so there's certainly a general feeling like that around within IT. So how these reports can be seen like that and are to marketing material, let's say. And then at the same time, so the other thing you mentioned that I'm totally with you on that, Rashid, is how this doesn't get down to the details. And I think that what happens is they can put on someone's radars, let's say some vendors, but then there's going to be analysis that each customer, each enterprise will need to do in terms of then what is comparing and understanding based on their enterprise systems, what will be the best fit for them. And there's no reports that do direct comparisons between these vendors, for instance. So there's an analysis that is just focused on on so individually on each of them, and there won't actually be a direct comparison, and so I guess they don't want to get into that area, as they could, if they're seen already as being eventually a political or so influenced kind of report. If they get down to those details, I guess so Gartner and Forrester would end up just getting to more muddier territory where they don't want to get into. And so actually there's no direct comparison between the different vendors. I think that that ends up probably being the most relevant aspect that each company enterprise will need to do on their own, or with someone supporting, but that they don't get from either Gartner or Forrester.
So what we're saying is that these should be taken with a pinch of salt, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yes.
Okay, what can we take from them?
Well, if from my perspective, so someone genuinely that I see is what they are able to see as trends happening, let's say within the industry in that particular space of that technology. Meaning, so they do this more of broader analysis of where the different vendors are going. And so taking the example of low code, so are they more cloud native, and so do they have containers, and so where's kind of the industry going? And so they see, okay, there are 2 or 3 vendors that are ahead on that trends, and the 2 or 3 that are behind. So they give us that kind of more industry perspective, and that's relevant, and they can raise here so trends that maybe somebody hasn't realized yet, and so that how the industry is shifting, let's say, to specific areas, and so that is relevant. I see that. So I think that is important, as well as what can be just new, as so IT technology world moves fast, and what can be from one year to the other just a new player in the market that maybe some people haven't yet heard of, but Gartner has been able so to add that to the report, and so give it relevance, and so as a best of breed new player in the market. And I see those as something that I do take from the reports that I read, because I read them. Yes, so in the end I read them, but so yes, I see value in things like this.
What about yourself, Rashid?
It's all about fashion. You know, when you're talking about trends, a trend is related to fashion. So the fashion comes in. Everybody wants to be ahead of your competitors. And I agree with Tiago that the trend and the fashion are those things. Fashion has a different element of a meaning a little bit, you know. I remember when I first bought my jeans with a tear of jeans in front of in my knees, and that was a fashion. It still is a fashion, right? And I was wondering why the hell I buy a pair of jeans, right, and pay a fortune of money, you know, 100, 200 pounds, right? And there's nothing, you know, half of my knees are being, you know, literally people can see my skin, but I'm proud of it and wearing and then paying it also. So this is what it is actually. And I think people need to be a little smarter, I guess, when reading all these reports. They should not be blindfolded and follow them. Okay, if I mean, this is what happened in the fashion world, and the fashion world is all about the young generations, right? And the reports from Gartner and other research groups, it gives the indications to CEOs and other seniors in the industry that, okay, where the market is going, because research and development is always behind the door. You have no idea. I guess these reports goes and peeks through the windows in a keyhole and see, oh, what someone else is doing, right? And try to see behind the scene, okay, what is boiling up and how much it will bring, value to the society, value to the company, value as a whole in a software or any industry, I would say. So I guess that's certainly an element of that. But it is certainly part of a fashion trend and these research group form a whole new trend, and people are, oh my god, this is amazing. And then when they dig deep, they do some more analysis, and then people are validate that, okay, fine, it is what been told and what been discussed. It's a fact there. Yes, it is a good product. But on the other hand, people may not agree and say, no, I don't agree with the outcome of this. I've used it, I'm not happy with it. There are some so many elements is not right, and how come people are supporting and endorsing that? So there's a whole sort of thing. But the trend and the fashion suddenly comes out of this whole report, which is I think is a good thing.
Okay. What could we consider as an alternative to Gartner?
Like with what happens with vendors, so there are also analyst companies out there that are not known by the bigger public, by everyone, but that are more niche and that can produce some quality reports. There's also some that there are some reports that are sponsored sometimes by vendors themselves, yes, but that do bring a little bit more to the table in terms of what ends up being surveys within the industry, and so they will get opinions of people from within IT and put data together, and so yes, that's sponsored by some vendors sometimes those reports, but they do give us a perspective of so where not just the industry is moving, but what customers, so enterprises using these technologies are looking for, and what are their main pain points, and so what they look, what they are looking for really in when choosing these technologies. So there are certainly surveys and similar out there that are not from Gartner or Forrester, for instance. But besides this, I think that it depends on the niche where we are within IT, which technology it is. But there are out there some websites, so some companies that do aggregate customers, users, opinions, and perspective, which can be somewhat, let's say, here influenced, but as anything that becomes a bit more social, I guess, that there can be, it's not going to be scientific, let's just say that. And so there are sites like G2 that do have many reviews on different technologies. I know that some vendors will work with their community to try to have their existing user community and so customers to provide reviews, and so they do ask them help us review our technology and so on, and so those that are able to connect better, let's say, with their community and having a more passionate community, which in a way probably plays in their favor anyway. So it's probably something that tells maybe that technology has something more than others, will end up coming out of that noise, let's say, with better reviews and scores and so on. But apart from that, I guess it's speaking with people that do deliver projects with this technology, that feel in the field the reality, and so the challenges, how they did overcome them, what was expected, what was unexpected. And I think that there's nothing better than really trying to hear from people that have put their hands on these different technologies and worked with them. I think certainly that is always something that will help understanding where reality is, basically.
Rashid, anything you would like to say?
Yeah, one thing it always crossed my mind several times, and that is the vendor, they don't come up a report with themselves, right? They do talk about amazing things they came up, and they always, of course, they need to sell their product, which is a very natural thing to do. but there should be an industry standard, right? The product should not be in the market until and unless the product owner, the creators say, this product is not good for this things, and that part is, I wonder that why people don't do that. And you will see the small prints, if you look at any medical prescription, any any product, there's a small prints, and you can hardly read even, right? Sometimes you have to see a magnifying glass to see underneath it what they're trying to say, good and bad, whatever. Mostly it's a side effects thing on a medicine side of it. So there should be an industry standard that you must tell that, okay, this product is not good for these things. At least, be sensible, be very clear, transparent about it. And I don't know why, industry don't put that standard. And if that, things comes up, that could be an alternative. Because if I'm trying to buy some product, and the first thing I will see, okay, it's good on these things, but I would also like to hear what is not right for, what is not good for other things. And that should be a compulsory, a mandatory sort of a reports given by the creator of the product. And that could become, then we don't read really Gartner or anything, because we know what it's capable of doing and what it's not capable of doing. This is my view on that.
But okay, let's consider this. What could be used as an alternative to the reports to gauge the market?
I mean, this is again, when it all about, you're talking about alternatives. And then who are the people who's going to write the reports? What are their, authenticity in terms of their experience and in terms of their, market presence, their experience? You can't expect someone who is a fresh graduate, came out of the market, and he started writing a research report. And of course, the quality of the research and all other things, right? That's matter. But experience does count, right? Especially the industry which we work on. And those experience need to be certainly validated. And, and there's no validation, I can come and write some report, put it online, and I can say whatever I feel like it. Some people who understand the subject, probably they may argue with me and discuss all those things, and we can keep arguing about it, the pros and cons of it, of that subject matters. It's purely my view on that. I felt that when I was using all these things, and I felt that this is not a right product for certain things, and I will go and write about it. And if you take that report as such, oh, this is what it is, as you said, with a pinch of salt, that's fine, and that's the end of it. You simply cannot take those argument and discussions. Okay, this, and then the funny thing is, people, based on those fact or reports, people rank you. Well, you're number one, you're number two, you're number three. So I wonder where the number 1, 2, 3 is coming from. What are the differences that you are, putting number 1, 2, and 3, or even top 5? What was, the sense of selection, or the fact of the selection data which you are putting all these things? By, okay, 10 people they did the survey, and 20 people did the survey, and because 10 and who are those people? There are so many questions which comes up, and then you think about it, how the hell this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positioning is being judged? There's nothing like it, right? I mean, this is the pure politics of it, and if you give me $1 billion, I can make you a prime minister of any country. I will throw your faces in every channel of the world. Now I'll say Mario is the best person, and that is the analysis and the report which I'll put it, and everything. Every report will say you're amazing. If Trump can become a president of Pakistan, president of the United States, anyone can become a president.
Ooh, touchy subject there.
But it will take you more than $1 million, Rashid.
No, a billion. Sorry, not a million, but billion. This is what I'm talking about. You can cut it or you can keep it. It's up to you.
What about yourself, Tiago? What do you think about this? What alternatives could we use to measure the market?
I think that there are some companies that do actually make this as their business, their main business, which is so understanding the market and providing this service, this consulting. So I guess it is, let's say, another step ahead of what these tech analyst reports give us. And so there are companies that do not basically deliver any service with those particular technologies, but that do only advise and can. What the challenge here is that so taking an example of some big company enterprise, so with their top level executives, well, they then can hire one of these companies to basically put these reports, this data together, compare it with the reality of the company, and so they will provide insights to that third party in terms of what their enterprise systems are, what their challenges are, and the company will then with this, so the customer requirements, needs, let's say, and what they know of the market, they will advise them on what can be the best fits, and this eventually can even be not just in terms of the vendors, but also how it can go down to possible companies that can deliver on the projects. So it's not something that it is used by all companies, certainly, and I think it's not that well known, but there are some service companies out there that do make their business just based on this, and so they will end up in a way prescribing some solution, and so they're out there in the market looking also for delivery companies working with these technologies, and so their business model is can be simply the fact that they get something paid by the enterprise to produce a custom report, a custom recommendation, or they just take some commission, I don't know, out of what ends up being the project in the end. But so but there are many different ways really to go about this, and I think it's significant in the end. The business that is generated just around this. So it's not just the price of the licenses of the technology that you're buying, not just the price of the project that you will be paying for to have the solution in the end. There are many other companies that do live within this area of also the decision making, and so generating opportunities within this space. And I guess each company, each CIO will know what works better for their enterprise, but there's this mix of possibilities out there in the market.
Well, I will certainly add a few things. For example, this is a typical example of valuation of any product in the market. For example, Tesla, all of a sudden said, they will not accept Bitcoins. The whole market of a Bitcoins went down. The $2 billion of the market just out of the market. The valuations of the Bitcoin just falls just crazy. People lose out so many, their money. And this is just a one company saying that I don't like Bitcoins in terms of the finance aspect of it. And then the manipulations of these kind of informations, right and wrong. I'm just giving an example. So it's a very controversial, all these things, okay, and where it's coming from, who is people are talking, it's irrelevant, and it's important also. And keeping the rank on the top 5 is, I think, it's a very controversial. Some people will like it. Each product owner will say, no, why they're number one, we should be number one. It depends how these reports are taking into considerations and who's writing this report, why they're ranking out, which those facts are not clear. And I always wonder why.
I see. Okay. And with that, we reach the end of today's episode. I'd like to say thank you very much to Tiago and Rashid for your time and company. And I would also like to send a big thank you to everyone who is listening. And I hope you can join us on our next episode, where we'll venture into more topics from the tech universe. Goodbye and see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.